Hey guys, welcome back to Cyber Platter. Today we'll try to learn what is defense in depth. It is a security strategy that aims to protect systems, networks, and assets by employing multiple layers of security measures. It is based on the principle that no one single security measure can provide complete protection against all threats, and that a combination of overlapping defenses is needed to effectively mitigate risks. Actually, the concept of defense in depth has its origin in military strategy, where it was used to fortify castles and military bases. By incorporating multiple layers of defensive measures such as walls, towers, tunnels, the defenders made it increasingly difficult for attackers to breach their defenses and gain access to the heart of the fortification. The same approach was later adopted in the field of cybersecurity as the complexity and sophistication of cyber threats increased. Instead of solely relying on a single layer of defense, such as like a firewall, defense in depth emphasizes the implementation of complementary security controls and measures at different layers of an organization's infrastructure. Like you can see in this picture, it has multiple layers of security measures. There are many other names to defense in depth, like layer defense, castle approach. Layer defense, you would have guessed that it is because it uses multiple layers. Castle approach draws an analogy to the fortified castles of old, where multiple layers of defense were used to protect against attacks. Then it is also called as defense in layers, sometimes called as depth and complexity. Actually, this phrase emphasizes the need for depth and complexity in security measures to create a robust defense system. It is also called as defense in breadth. This term focuses on the broad coverage and comprehensive nature of the defense strategy, spanning multiple areas and layers of security. Regardless of the name used, the core concept remains the same, that is, implementing multiple layers of security measures that work together to enhance the overall security posture and make it more challenging for adversaries to successfully breach an organization's defense. The adoption of a defense in depth approach helps organizations mitigate risks, detect and respond to security incidents more efficiently and effectively, and reduce the potential impact of successful attacks. It promotes a proactive and holistic approach to security, taking into account various threat vectors and potential vulnerabilities across different layers of the infrastructure. The layers of defense in depth can vary depending on the specific context and system. Today, we'll discuss some of the commonly employed layers, like you can see in this image. Let's see these layers one by one. First is the data layer. Like the name suggests, this layer focuses on protecting sensitive and critical data within an organization. This layer aims to ensure the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data assets, whether they are stored, processed, or transmitted. Let's see some of the measures that an organization can consider to implement the data layer effectively. First is data classification. We need to start by identifying and classifying data based on its sensitivity and importance. This helps prioritize security controls and allocate resources accordingly. Then comes data encryption. This is to protect data both at rest and in transit. Encryption ensures that even if data is accessed or intercepted, it remains unreadable without the proper decryption keys. Then we have access controls. This is to limit data access only to authorized individuals who have a legit need. Then we have DLP solutions, data loss prevention. These solutions monitor and prevent unauthorized access, transmission, or leak of sensitive data. DLP technologies can identify and block sensitive data from being transmitted via email, web applications, or other channels. Then we have backup and recovery. Data backup and recovery. This is to protect against data loss due to accidental deletion, hardware failure, or cybersecurity incidents. You should regularly back up critical data, but also not forget to test the restore process to ensure the data integrity. Next, we have secure data storage. You have to make sure that the data is stored securely, whether it is on premises or in the cloud. You can implement access controls, encryption, or the other security measures like we discussed to protect data repositories and databases. Then we have data monitoring and auditing. This is to detect and investigate any unauthorized access or suspicious activities related to data. You need to monitor data access logs, perform regular security audits, and leverage security information and event management, that is SIM systems, for centralized data monitoring. So these are some of the measures that can be implemented at the data layer. Next, we'll see the application layer. So the application layer in defense in-depth strategy focuses on secure software applications that are used in an organization. This layer aims to protect applications from vulnerabilities, unauthorized access, and malicious activities. Let's see some of the measures related to the application layer. First one is the secure development lifecycle. We need to implement secure coding practices throughout the software development lifecycle, like train developers on secure coding techniques, perform code reviews, use automated tools for vulnerability scanning, etc. Next one is the input validation. You need to validate and sanitize all user inputs to prevent common web application vulnerabilities such as cross-site scripting, SQL injection attacks, okay? And also consider output encoding, okay? Then we have authentication and authorization. Strong authentication mechanisms, including multi-factor authentication, that is MFA, needs to be implemented to verify the identities of users accessing the application. Enforcing appropriate authorization controls ensure users have access only to the functionality they require. Another measure is session management. This is to protect session identifiers and prevent session hijacking or fixation attacks. We need to ensure that session tokens are randomly generated, encrypted, and invalidated after logout or inactivity. And then we have error and exception handling. This is to avoid revealing sensitive information or system details to attackers. We need to make sure that we provide meaningful error messages to users without disclosing system vulnerabilities. Another measure is secure configuration. We need to ensure that application servers, frameworks, and dependencies are properly configured with secure settings. Disable unnecessary features, apply security patches, and follow vendor best practices for hardening the application environment. Then we have secure file and resource handling. This is to prevent unauthorized access, directory traversal, or file upload vulnerabilities. You need to validate file types, limit file upload sizes, and store uploaded files in secure locations. Then we have security testing and vulnerability assessment. We need to conduct regular security testing, including penetration testing and vulnerability assessments, to identify and address application vulnerabilities. You can use automated tools and manual testing techniques to uncover potential weaknesses. So these are some of the application layer measures. Now let's see about internal network. Actually, perimeter and internal network are both related to network security. Let's see how they are different and what makes them important. Perimeter refers to the boundary or outer edge of a network infrastructure. The internal network refers to the interconnected systems, devices, and resources within an organization's network infrastructure. Perimeter represents the point where an organization's internal network interfaces with the external network or the internet. Internal network includes all the network components and assets that reside within the organization boundaries. Perimeter security focuses on protecting the boundary or outer edge from unauthorized access and external threats, whereas internal network security focuses on protecting the network from threats that may arise from within the organization or after an external breach. Now let's see how perimeter security can be implemented. You can deploy firewalls at the network perimeter to monitor and control incoming and outgoing traffic. Configure them to enforce security policies, block malicious traffic, and log events. You can use both traditional stateful firewalls and next generation firewalls. Then we can implement IDS or IPS solutions at the network perimeter to detect and prevent attacks targeting the external facing systems. Configure these systems to identify known attack patterns, perform anomaly detection, and respond to potential attacks. Then we have the demilitarized zone. DMZ, we need to establish a DMZ to separate public facing systems such as web servers or email servers from the internal network. Configure the DMZ with additional security measures such as reverse proxies or application firewalls to protect the internal network from direct exposure to the internet. Then we have secure gateway. We can deploy secure gateway technologies such as secure web gateways and secure email gateways to filter and scan incoming internet traffic for malicious content, including web threats, malware, or phishing attempts. Configure these gateways to block or quarantine suspicious content. We can also implement WAFs, that is, web application firewalls, to protect web applications from common web based attacks such as SQL injection, cross site scripting, or remote file inclusion. Configure WAFs to inspect and filter incoming web traffic, detect anomalies, and apply security policies. Now, let's see how internal network security can be implemented. We can consider network segmentation. That is, we can divide the internal network into separate segments or zones based on security requirements and data sensitivity. We can implement network segmentation using technologies like virtual LANs, that is VLANs, and software defined networking, that is SDN, to isolate critical systems and limit lateral movement in case of a breach. Then we can set up strong access control. This is to restrict network access based on the principle of least privilege. We can utilize technologies such as firewalls, ACLs, that is access control lists, network access control, that is NAC, solutions to ensure granular access policies and authenticate users before granting access to the internal network. Then we can utilize network monitoring tools to continuously monitor network traffic, detect anomalies, and identify potential security incidents. You can monitor logs, network flows, and security events to gain visibility into network behavior and quickly respond to any unauthorized activities. Then we can also implement secure remote access such as VPNs, that is virtual private networks, to allow remote users to access the internal network securely. Always utilize strong authentication mechanisms and encryption to protect data in transit. Okay, now we know about perimeter security and internal network security. Now let's see the physical security part. The physical layer, as the name suggests, focuses on protecting the physical assets and infrastructure of an organization. It involves implementing measures to safeguard physical locations, facilities, equipment, and hardware from unauthorized access, theft, damage, or tampering. The physical layer is crucial as it forms the foundation upon which other layers of security can be built. Let's see some of the key aspects and implementation strategies for the physical layer. First is the perimeter protection. That is, you can implement physical barriers such as fences, gates, walls to control access to the premises. You can utilize access control systems like keycards, biometric authentication, or security guards to manage and monitor entry points. Then we have facility security, that is to install surveillance cameras and alarm systems to monitor and record activities around the premises. We can employ security personnel or guards to patrol and respond to security incidents. Make sure to control and monitor visitor access through visitor management systems or sign in processes. Then we have data center security. You can implement access controls for data center entry, including biometric authentication and secure access cards. Ensure environmental controls such as temperature and humidity monitoring to protect critical infrastructure. Again, deploy video surveillance, motion sensors, and intrusion detection systems to monitor data center areas. Then we have equipment protection. You need to physically secure critical hardware components such as servers, networking devices, and storage devices by locking them in secure cabinets or server racks. Make sure to use cable locks or anchor kits to secure laptops and desktops to prevent theft. You can implement physical asset tracking and inventory management to account for equipment location and prevent unauthorized removal. Then we have secure disposal and destruction. We need to establish processes for secure disposal of sensitive physical assets, including hard drives, media, tapes, or printed documents. Ensure the use of appropriate disposal methods such as shredding, degaussing, or secure e waste disposal to prevent data leakage. Then we also have to consider emergency preparedness. We need to develop and implement emergency response plans, including evacuation procedures, fire suppression systems, and disaster recovery protocols. We need to conduct regular drills and training sessions to ensure employees are aware of emergency procedures and can respond effectively. Then we have vendor management. Implement controls and vetting processes for third party vendors who have physical access to your premises or handle sensitive equipment. Maintain clear contracts and agreements outlining security expectations and responsibilities for vendors. We also need to consider employee awareness. Employee awareness needs to be considered at every stage. We'll discuss it when we go to the policies and procedures and awareness. So these are the measures related to the physical layer for now. Now let's talk about policies and procedures, and then we'll take up awareness. Policies and procedures focus on establishing clear guidelines, standards, and practices to govern security related activities within an organization. They provide a framework for employees, contractors, and other stakeholders to understand and follow security best practices, ensure consistent and effective security measures are in place. Let's see how this can be implemented effectively. First is risk assessment. Conduct a thorough risk assessment to identify potential security risks and vulnerabilities specific to your organization. This assessment helps prioritize security needs and guides the development of policies and procedures. Then we have security policies. We need to develop comprehensive security policies that cover various aspects of information security, such as acceptable use policy, access control policy, data handling policies, incident response policies, data retention and destruction policies, and many more policies like this. These policies outline the expected behavior, responsibilities, and consequences for non-compliance. Then we have policy review and approval. Ensure that security policies are reviewed and approved by relevant stakeholders, including management, legal, and compliance teams. This helps validate their alignment with organizational objectives and regulatory requirements. Then we have policy distribution and awareness. That is, we need to communicate security policies to all employees and stakeholders through training sessions, awareness campaigns, and regular reminders. Make policies easily accessible through an internal portal or document management system. And then we have procedure development. Translate security policies into practical procedures that provide step by step instructions on how to implement security controls. Procedures may include incident response procedures, password management procedures, access provisioning or deprovisioning procedures, and more. Then we have employee training. Conduct regular security awareness and training sessions to educate employees about security policies and procedures. Training should cover topics such as phishing awareness, password hygiene, secure use of company resources, and reporting security incidents. Then we have compliance monitoring. We need to establish mechanisms to monitor and enforce policy compliance. This may include regular audits, security assessments, internal control evaluations, etc. Non-compliance should be addressed through appropriate disciplinary actions or corrective measures. Then you need to develop an incident response plan. This plan should outline the steps to be taken in case of a security incident. The plan should define roles and responsibilities, communication protocols, escalation procedures, and recovery processes. Then we have policy review and update. Regularly review and update security policies and procedures to address emerging threats, technology advancements, and regulatory changes. Engage relevant stakeholders in the review process to ensure ongoing relevance and effectiveness. Then we have continuous improvement, that is, foster a culture of continuous improvement by gathering feedback from employees, conducting post incident analysis, and staying informed about emerging best practices. Use this information to refine policies and procedures accordingly. We covered awareness and training as well here, like employee training, policy distribution, and awareness. Just to add more, there should be awareness and training programs on phishing and social engineering, password security and authentication, safe browsing and internet usage, data handling and confidentiality, physical security and asset protection, incident reporting and response, ongoing training and updates if there is anything cascaded to the users or employees. So, all this should be included in your awareness and training plan. Actually, guys, I forgot to talk about the host layer. Let's complete that as well. So, there is another layer in defense in depth called host layer. Host layer focuses on securing individual hosts such as servers, workstations, or other endpoints within a network. It aims to protect these hosts from various threats, including unauthorized access, malware, data breaches, and other security risks. Let's see some of the common practices to implement host layer security. First one is deploying endpoint protection solutions such as antivirus solutions, anti malware tools, host based intrusion detection or prevention systems to detect and mitigate malicious activity on individual hosts. Then we have patch management. We need to regularly update and apply patches to operating systems, applications, and firmware on hosts to address known vulnerabilities. We need to establish a patch management process that ensures timely patching across the network. Also, we need to utilize host based firewalls. This is to control inbound and outbound network traffic at the host level. Make sure to configure firewall rules to allow only necessary network connections and services. Then we have to enforce strong authentication mechanisms. This is to prevent unauthorized access to hosts. Strong authentication might include using complex passwords, using multi factor authentication, MFA, implementing account lockouts, and leveraging technologies like smart cards, biometrics, wherever it is applicable. Then we need to consider having a privilege management system. We need to implement the principle of least privilege to restrict user accounts and processes to only the necessary privileges required for their functions. We need to regularly review and update access permissions to minimize the risk of privilege escalation. We can also consider data encryption here. That is, we need to utilize encryption technologies to protect sensitive data at rest and in transit on the host. We can implement full disk encryption or file level encryption to safeguard data stored on hosts. Use secure protocols like SSL, TLS for secure data transmission. Then we can implement application whitelisting technologies. This is to allow only approved applications to run on hosts. This helps prevent the execution of unauthorized or malicious software. Then we need to track and detect security incidents on the host. This can be done by using continuous monitoring and logging. We need to regularly review logs for suspicious activities and perform proactive threat hunting. Then we have auditing and vulnerability assessments. We need to make sure these are conducted regularly on hosts to identify weaknesses and potential security gaps and then address any identified vulnerabilities promptly. So these are the things related to the host layer in defense in depth. So that's it about defense in depth. So in today's video, we learned what is defense in depth. That is, it is a layered approach to security and what are the different names like castle approach, defense in breadth, etc. We also saw the common layers in defense in depth that is approached in most of the organizations: data, application, host, internal network, perimeter, physical, policies, procedures, and awareness. We learn the difference between perimeter and internal network, how they can be implemented, and also the others, how they can be implemented. I mean, at least some of the measures used to implement them. So that's it for today. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section. I will answer them. I will see you in another video with another topic. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. I will see you soon. Bye bye.